appreciate that you actually read over the
And
minutes.
put on your
offered some
microphones, please. Just a reminder to speak into them, right? And if you come up for public comment, to speak into them. Okay. Let's start with announcements and communications. Any announcements and communications? We have our city retreat coming up on Friday. I'm excited about that. Do another planning session.
I have one comment.
Yeah, please.
If you guys haven't seen it, the new lights and fans in the beach house are awesome. Thank you for getting that done.
Great, thank you.
And I just wanted to let everybody know that there was the third event of the Women's History events, I guess. Very successful, very well attended, and very interesting. And the fourth and last one of those will be this Friday. Doors open at 7:30. The program starts, and it's going to be very interesting. It's been a great lecture series, not lecture exactly, but Women's History series.
Wonderful. Any other announcements or communications? Okay, moving on. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda of the day?
I'll move that we adopt the agenda of the day.
Okay,
I was second.
okay. And Bordeaux seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Oh, I don't know why I raised my hand.
Me too.
In solidarity with y'all. Okay. Okay, great. And now public comment. So just a reminder, you can come up to the podium. Our public we have here tonight, state your name and your address, and be sure to speak into the microphone so people on Zoom can hear, or YouTube.
Hey everyone, it's Carrie Loomis. I'm over here at 479 Clubhouse Drive. Good to see you all. So anyway, my comments are pretty brief. I was very happy yesterday to have a chance to meet with Mr. Hawthorne here and Mr. Kendrick back there and talk about my number one concern, which has been when I read the notes from March 11, there was a suggestion that the repairs to the lake might take 18 to 24 months, which of course gave us all a heart attack. So anyway, my Tommy's dad is a mechanical engineer who's worked over 10 years down in Clayton County, including work with wetlands and everything. And so he had some input that we shared, through email that it seemed like you could repair the breaches. But the good news is, Mr. Kendrick said that the intense storms a few weeks ago cleared that intake pipe. So you might not need a roto-rooter after all. So that was huge because he showed the floods going through with so much rain that it literally pushed the debris through that pipe. So anyway, Wendy and Wendy was sort of representing SEED and sort of how can we help, when is the next wetlands and lake cleanup. She has the ability to get a lot of people to help with those things. So I just wanted to, that really gave us all a spook, because it has been, the lake really stayed pretty clean and clear through about 2019. And I'm the water lady of, I take lots of pictures of the water. So I've seen the big changes, the lack of clarity, especially probably since about 2020. And so I'm concerned that the entrance pipe that's over, everybody knows, by the green swing, water has not been able to come through that for, gosh, it feels like years, and I think it is. And on top of that, on the west end of the lake, across from Mary Schumann's house, and in the lake, not the wetlands, but there's, water used to go out on that side, so that, was the flow. And I think the lake might just empty if that were open, but that is also clogged. So I feel like I'm very worried about stagnation. I'm worried about water quality. I'm worried about the shallowness. One thing I really want to add is that I saw a Fisher person, and I love fishing and I love the Fisher people. But I said, hey, did you catch anything? And the guy said, yeah, 2 turtles.
Mm.
I really think it's time to probably ban fishing on the east end. The water down there is probably a foot deep.
Ms.
And
Loomis, I'm sorry to interrupt. That's 3 minutes.
Okay, so anyway, that was really scary. So I would consider banning fishing until water is able to enter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other public comment? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'll move that we adopt the consent agenda.
Adopt, that's a good verb. Second. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, great, wonderful. Okay, and new business, we've got before us Resolution R-2025-14 for the amended fiscal year 2024 annual budget. So I'm going to turn this over to City Manager Hawthorne and Mr. Lamont.
Yes, Mr. Lamont can come on up. Good evening, Mayor and Council and neighbors, and of course my colleagues here. So I think Mr. Lamont, based on the handout that you have in your packet, is going to give you just an overview of his analysis that he's recommending for adjustments.
All right. Madam Mayor, council members, before you would see amended fiscal year 2024 annual budget transactions. Essentially, to summarize, we had some expenses that were over budget, so I identified some other expenses and excess revenue that was able to cover those expenses, and that essentially balanced the budget. I want to point out a couple of items that you see there's no budget for. I wanted to address those because those things come up during the year, so we have to actually address those before the auditor comes to make sure the budget balances. And then also, there are some small amounts. That's kind of me being a little anal, so I'm just going another step. So some of those you really don't have to do, but I like to do to be over the top. So we're all the way where we need to be when the auditor comes. So I'd like for you to approve the FY 2024 amended transaction budget so that we can close out by the end of this month, 2024.
Great.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
I'll start with a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the amendment, and then once we have a second, we'll open for discussion and questions. Okay, is there a motion?
A motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right. Discussion, questions?
Can we go down
Yeah.
the items?
Sure.
Yeah, so talk to me about, like you're talking about these little small amounts. I
Mhm.
assume you mean like where it says like professional, $342. Is that the little amounts that you're talking about? I don't know what.
So the first one, if you look at supplies, it says $520. There was no budget in supplies because I like to balance the budget. That's something that the auditor wouldn't ding us on, but I just like to balance it. So I included that amount as well to just put it on there. So those are the small amounts, what I'm referring to.
Great.
And so professional, I'm sorry, I was not speaking to the mic earlier. So when it says professional, what are we talking about in other professional services?
I don't have the details of the line items before me today. I could get those to you. That makes up that 3,500 amount. But those happened during the year, and there was no budget for those.
Special programs, sounds like, could be anything. Do you know what that line item, I mean, if you don't know the specifics, what are special programs as far as the chart of accounts? What is?
Again, I don't have the line item details, and I can definitely get it to you.
Okay.
I can email everybody out the details of those 2 line items, or if we have some other questions, so you'll know what comprises that amount.
Yeah, I've got, it's probably not a question for you, Mr. Lamont. It's probably more a question for our city manager. But on line items like special programs or other professional services where we've got relatively large amounts of money available that we didn't spend that we're moving over to compensate, you know, why did we budget those large items for 2024's budget? I wasn't there for that, so, and I know you weren't either. But I'm wondering, how does that happen where we put, you know, that much money aside? That's a pretty significant sum that we didn't tap into.
It's actually the opposite.
It's the opposite?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
So we went over in
We
those
went over
areas?
in those,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
Does the question still stand, though?
No.
Okay.
I have a feeling I know where that money
Yeah.
is.
Okay, great.
Could we go down item by item and talk about the increases and why we think we'll need like twice as much in legal expenses? Or is that something that needs to be,
Just to clarify, so this isn't anything that we're requesting because of what we're projecting. This is the actual expenditure. So if we start with that current total budget column, that is what the council approved for fiscal year '24, for the fiscal year that ended December 31st, 2024. Fiscal activity are the actual expenses. And so the yellow column is what we're asking you to adjust, and the difference between those two columns. So we could go down the detail of the line items, but both Mr. Lamont and I, we're kind of at a disadvantage. Going forward, I will have the answers for you. In fact, the budget will look very different in the future. You won't have to guess what these line items are. That will be a given. Clear, simple, so that any member of our public, any neighbor, will understand whenever they're looking at a budget document. So I apologize that I'm not there yet, but I'm excited about the new process that's coming up.
Thank you.
Just on a process basis, the line item fund balance, there isn't an increase in the budget. Is that correct? It's showing an increase of 115,163, but that was our actual budget. We budgeted that amount,
Right.
which means, so I'm just wondering why why it's in the increase column.
Because we didn't tap into using the 115, the expenses were less, we didn't need to use it, so I used that line item to balance these overbalance expenses.
Okay, so
And
it's
that
really a decrease, or is there a minus after?
Yeah, there's a minus
Okay.
actually in front of it. Is that correct, or
There
is
is?
that under current total
Oh,
budgeted?
over here, I
negative
see, I
115,
got it
yeah.
now. Okay, there's a minus, so I
Which
didn't see
column are
that
you,
little
which
minus
column-
there.
which
Okay.
column are you calling the negative? Are you talking about under fiscal activity?
Yeah, the fund balance for the general fund under the first.
Mr. Lamont, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that so much represents a negative as it just represents that there was no activity, so to
Yes.
speak.
Mhm.
Yes, you are correct.
But the 115 is being used to cover these shortages in the other accounts on the on the table below it.
Yes, sir.
So normally
No,
with,
It's
with-
not being used, right?
it is.
It is being used. Yes,
So-
it
so-
wasn't used before. It wasn't used during the year. That's why there's a zero
Okay,
activity.
okay,
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
gotcha.
And just for further clarification, on the fiscal activity, that's showing what has actually taken place, what has actually been expended. Normally with fund balance, you save that until the very end of the year to see what is required. So technically nothing has been expended in the fund balance line item, but what Mr. Lamont is telling you is that he is requesting that full amount that was originally authorized. So the transaction has yet to happen.
Great.
So my question, I think, is more for you, Mr. Hawthorne, in terms of looking towards the future. I think one of the things historically we have not done is we spend money on things we don't budget for. And I'm really hoping that things like some routine maintenance on things is typically not funded. We build something and then we don't have a budget for maintaining it. So I'm really hoping and encouraging that we go a little more in depth with
Yes.
our budget for next year. And as you always say, the budget tells the story.
Yes.
And I think I'm excited for seeing how that comes to play this year.
Well, you know, there's good and bad in that, but to support what you're looking for and what I've already spoken to the community building team about, and my sense is, I don't know this factually, is that even staff, what we might consider department directors, they haven't had the most active role in preparing the budget. So it seems like to me it was probably more centralized. I'm very much decentralized because I believe a budgeting process, it touches everyone. In fact, I want employees who aren't in offices, you know, to speak to their supervisor and say to them, you know, these are the kind of things that I need in order to do my job better. I want the public, I want our neighbors to be engaged, which means they need to understand. The part that you may or may not appreciate when we get there is I've told the community building team when it comes time for us to present the next budget, and to some extent even when we do the budget amendment for fiscal year 2025, our job isn't to tell the council what we think they want to hear. We need to tell them from our professional and expert standpoints and our opinions what we believe is needed. Not wish lists. I'm very careful. I don't believe in wish lists, but what is needed. And that will apply particularly when it comes to, you know, maintenance things such as you say, but even in projects. And I know you all are big on projects. We're gonna identify everything that's needed. You won't be able to fund them, but you are the governing body. We don't get to substitute our thoughts and to hold back information that we know. So it will be a very robust process, but it will also be difficult, more difficult perhaps, because of the priorities that you will have to set, probably having a whole lot more information.
Thank you.
I have one more question. Where it says electric, 26,348, I assume that's the Georgia Power franchise fees that Mr. Holberg and Ms. Woods picked up. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's it.
Is that a thing that we can count on in the future?
Yes, this is something that should have been a budget amount for, because it's a constant revenue source. But they may have been thinking conservative and not budgeting for it. So, yes.
Good. It's good to know. Thank you.
But I think the amount changes each year based on what Georgia Power, how they determine that amount.
Yes, sir. But it's a constant revenue.
Yes.
So it should be on the budget amount every year.
So we did not budget anything for,
Receiving, we didn't budget for receiving any funds for that line item.
yeah, so that was just an error. I mean, we've always budgeted that. That's always been in the budget. So if it was left out, it should have been in there. And it's always somewhere around the same. I mean, it's not, we don't know exactly, but it's somewhere. We know enough that we should have it in the budget.
Any other questions?
We had a significant increase in ad valorem taxes is that collections? Do you have any, well, that'll maybe be a question that we'd like to have answered, is why is that off so much? Is that?
Yeah, that could be, and I'm just addressing what probably might have happened. The county suggests a collection rate usually for your city. And if we go above, like say 95%, and that's what we budget off of, but we actually collect 98%, that's what it sounds like happened here. I'm not saying that's what happened, but that's what happens,
Okay.
which is a good thing.
Oh, sure.
I had thought about that myself, and I don't know the answer, but I want to throw this out as a possibility, and you all may know. But I was thinking, because I know you did a millage increase, and so I was wondering if this number was probably the original budget, because I think the millage increase was approved, in the fall,
Mid-year.
summer or fall. And so this original number might have gone back to when you originally approved the budget, so that could be a factor as well.
Okay.
Now, I kind of got excited and thought, okay, well, maybe that's just kind of conservative budgeting that they've done. So I did take a peek at 2025, and the number had been adjusted up already.
Yeah, yeah, I think you have a point there. I think what happened was when it was approved, the number wasn't adjusted back to what it should have been, which was conservative, and got us over the amount we said we was gonna collect, so.
Great,
That makes sense.
thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
Great job, thank you.
Both
Thank you.
Mr.
Thank you.
Lamont and
Thank you.
Mr. Hawthorne. Okay. Is there a motion to adopt resolution, or we already have a motion? And we had a second. Okay. All in favor of adopting Resolution R 2025-14 for the amended fiscal year 2024 annual budget?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, great. Wonderful, thanks, y'all. All right, moving on to our second public comment of the evening. If you have a comment, you can come to the podium, state your name, address, and you have 3 minutes. Okay, seeing none, let's move on to reports and other business. Great, I don't have anything, reports or comments to add, more than what I said. Anybody else?
I have two things.
Okay, great.
First of all, I've talked to Mr. Hawthorne and Mr. Kendrick very briefly about putting together an infographic for our residents in case a tree falls on their property, like basically what to do. Not legal advice, of course, but just safety, numbers to call, things that they can do. And so we'll be talking about that coming up, and hopefully we'll have something to put together.
Awesome.
Mr. Kendrick, the wooden benches by the playground, do we have a scope on that bit of work?
We have been looking at that, but I think I go back to a previous conversation that the council wanted to address globally all of the recreation, and that was part of it, because I think it was maybe 6 months ago, we, were engaged in that conversation, and I think they came to council, and the thought at that point was tennis courts, playground, beach area, and those little areas down there were all part of the recreation master plan. And so that you guys wanted to have a chance to put all that together before making, separate decisions on it.
My concern is that the wood has rotted and there's rusted nails that are sticking out, and there has been caution tape there, but a lot of it is blown away, and it's temporary just by its nature. So I was just wondering if there's if we needed to go ahead and have it taken out before anybody gets hurt.
Sure, we can get that done. I mean, you guys, that fits into the plan. That's my only concern. We didn't have a purpose to repurpose that area other than to remove those and do something different.
Mr. Hawthorne, is there a specific process or action you would recommend for this?
I think we have an opportunity with the with the budget amendment process that's going to commence probably with your next work session to look at some more pressing items. Normally, you know, in going through the full budget process, it gives us the opportunity to consider everything together. But we're still a few months off for that, and you know, I've learned enough about the playground situation, including a tour that I took last Thursday with the police chief and public works director. But these are the kind of items that I'm going to probably ask staff to prioritize in our recommendation coming in April and May.
Thank you.
And if I understand correctly, again, that's one of those gaps where upkeep and maintenance of the playground has never been budgeted.
Mhm.
So yes, I would love to get those repaired, because if anything down there gets probably the most use, it's the playground area. But yet, we've never really funded the upkeep of it.
And my question is not so much to be like, hey, this needs to be done, but hey, guys, this is an issue that's been pointed out to me, and I didn't know what we needed to do as a council, or if you're waiting on us, or as long as you're aware of it, I think that's
And so you're coming from the perspective of the potential hazard
right.
in the meantime.
Right.
Mhm.
Great. Any other council comments?
Go ahead.
I had was given a contact from when Council Member Woods and I went to the Georgia Power Luncheon, and some of us have received a postcard in the mail, vegetation management. Some of us also received a flyer on our door about Georgia Power's upcoming vegetation management, which basically means trimming the power lines around the city. So I reached out to the area manager that we met and was given the name of the contact person who's in charge of that, and had a meeting with him down at the beach house on Wednesday. Very informative. He is very excited that we reached out, and is excited about having a liaison from the city, not that I'm self-appointed, but just to have a voice. And I'm happy to do whatever we need. I was going to write this up in detail in the news brief, but he basically described that on the either the email that we got, the flyer, or the postcard, or the door hanger, has a contact number for the company that is contracted with Georgia Power that residents should reach out to them and have a conversation with their staff, the arborist, the tree company that's working. And what they do is when the crew comes out, they will mark on their mapping system any comments from any resident about their particular trees and property. And he encouraged everybody who has a need or a concern to reach out. So I'm going to put that contact information in there. He described it not so much as clear cutting, but helping prune trees so that they are trained to grow away from power lines. So it's not spraying, it's not clear cutting, it's not rampant cutting and pruning. He was already very aware from previous contact that Pine Lake is a very tree-friendly community. He's very conscious that our streets are small, so he was talking about only sending one crew here at a time, so that he's not blocking roadways. Thought it was a wonderful conversation, and he will be on site not all the time. He is also the person I met. Daniel's a certified arborist, so was very excited about that.
Did he mention, is this going to be all through Pine Lake, or is there certain parts of, is that the reason some people got door hangers, because their areas specifically? Because it seemed like last time they came through, it wasn't everything. So I'm just wondering if we know, or if.
From what he told me, the plan is the city.
Okay.
And the contracting company, which I think is Phoenix Best, handled that, so I don't believe everyone got a door hanger, and that's they're still 2 to 4 weeks out from doing the actual work. I know I've received an email, a postcard, and the door hanger. So if residents have not received any information, there will be a contact number in there, and we would encourage people to contact and reach out.
And Mr. Goldberg, that's not just for every tree that's close to a power line, is that correct? Is it there like a limitation on the right-of-way that they'll be trimming?
They have, one, it's to ensure the power lines, and the power lines, if you look at this, it is the uppermost wire on the power poles, and there's either 1 wire or 3 wires. It's not the lower wires, which are old landlines and cable. I think the bottom one is cable, the next one up is telephone, the top ones are the power lines. It is also not from the power pole to residents' homes. That is homeowners' responsibility. I believe the easement that they have is 15 feet.
Thank you, that was all I wanted to know.
Any other council comment?
Yes, I'd like to give kudos to Chief Green for the anti-scam presentation by Sergeant Kim from DeKalb Police. He gave a great presentation. We would have loved to have seen more people there, but you get what you get. And thank you for putting that together.
Thank you. Great. All right, any other council comment? All right, information for the news blast. Okay,
We've given notice to proceed for a contractor on Oak Road, so
great,
he'll be starting to mobilize in.
wonderful. That's great news. I don't know if it's too early. I think it's been confirmed as of today that the ribbon cutting will be May 4th, which is, I believe, a Sunday, from 1 to 4. Did you get that? And Missy sent out an email.
That'll be in conjunction with the Pollination
And the
Festival.
Earth Day Festival that they're putting on Seed and Map. Yes. Yeah, okay. I'm just making sure I have it. Yep, Sunday, May 4th from 1 to 4 p.m. Earth Day Community Pollination Celebration, ribbon cutting ceremony for the pedestrian bridges and the community gardens.
Which are starting to bloom.
Yeah, great. So we can put that on there. Yes.
Since you approved moving forward with the Interberm project, the materials, we're gonna order them tomorrow, so they're gonna be delivering them, and they'll be staged right down on Lake Shore. So, once again, we got an attractive nuisance, don't want anybody to get hurt, but we'll, tape them off and those types of things, but they'll be there for the duration of getting the project done.
Great.
And do we
Great
think
news.
that'll be done by May 4th?
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic.
Wonderful.
You're excited about that. You. We like when you get stuff done too.
All right. Anything else for the e-blast?
I'm going to step back actually to comments. I'm trying to, again, a contact made at the Georgia Power meeting. I did finally hear back from the area representative, and we're trying to coordinate that as part of the Pollination Festival. Georgia Power comes to communities and does a workshop presentation for residents about opportunities to get rebates and grants for energy efficiency on homes. So we were, Councilmember Woods and I were talking about that, and we were planning to host that, and then after about an hour of conversation, we said, what if no one shows up, and why don't we do it when there's already an existing event?
Yep.
So the
Nice.
hope is to see if she can bring her team, because it would be not just the area representative, but a team from Georgia Power to do presentation and have it at that festival on the ribbon cutting.
Yeah,
Great.
since we have the date, that will make it a lot easier to get her plugged in, coordinate, yeah.
Mhm. Okay. Anything else? All right. I don't believe we're having an executive executive session tonight. So is there a motion to adjourn?
Could I just throw really quickly for department heads, for the news blast, if you need anything put in there, get it to me in the next day. Because I'd like to get it out, especially since Friday's the retreat. The sooner you get me any announcements you want included in the news blast, the better.
Great.
Thanks. Sorry.
Okay. A motion to adjourn?
I motion that we adjourn.
Second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Very efficient meeting. Wow. Love that consent
It's
agenda.
6:30. It's 6:30.